Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Hometown Heroes. I'm Mike Kenichi, and today's guest definitely exemplifies what a hometown hero is. Who could forget the incredible run in 1999 with the UConn men's basketball Huskies team? He was part of that national championship. He was tremendous the entire season. He's a three-time co-captain at UConn, three-time Big East champion, one-time national champion, the one and only Mr. Ricky Moore. And Ricky, I really want to thank you for coming on. It's a real honor for me.
Well, thank you for having me. And first and foremost, I appreciate you having me on. I just want to say I love and truly love every moment that I had at UConn. It was a pleasure to play in front of all the great fans, and at that time coming to UConn, they had some great seasons before me, and that was one of the reasons that I chose to go to UConn. I knew that I was going to be a part of something special that had started before I got there, and I just wanted to put my print on the success that they had before I got there. And so, like you said, I was able to win 3 regular season championships, 3 Big East tournament championships, a national championship, and then later coming back to win as an assistant coach a national championship. So to be part of the history of UConn basketball, I feel that I put my print on it. And Coach Hurley and his staff are doing a great job of carrying that on. And people talk about, well, UConn basketball was dead. No, UConn basketball has never been dead. So I just want to make that clear. And and again, for the guys that played before me, it was awesome just to know those guys coming into, my freshman year at UConn and being a part of that brotherhood and that family, and with all the success we've had over the years, and that's men and women. And congratulations to the women in the Final Four this year. They've done a terrific job. And again, like they say, that's the basketball capital of the world.
Right. And Ricky, I wanted to ask you this. When you were in high school, I mean, did you always feel like that you were your first goal would be to possibly go to school out in Georgia? I mean, was that like, as a young kid, maybe a junior or even like early senior year, did you did you want to stay home at all, or were you ready to try something different?
Well, I looked at some schools closer to home. I think I probably would have went to Georgia Tech if Stephen Marbury hadn't committed to Georgia Tech. So, and it wasn't about him just committing that I wouldn't go and play. I just, being super competitive, I saw that they chose him. They wanted him to come, which was, great for that university. And he had a hell of a career and a hell of a player. And so when he decided to go there, I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to go somewhere and, just make sure that, I was going to have an opportunity to play and right away. And, and I did. And I ended up finding UConn. I was actually supposed to visit Arkansas, and I committed on my visit at UConn. So it was a great decision by me, and it worked out. And I played with some terrific players, some great teammates, and some guys that were ultra competitive and set that standard there at the University of Connecticut.
Right. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ricky, didn't your high school win the state title your senior year? Am I right with that?
Yes, you're correct. I actually ran into my old teammate yesterday because I'm down at the Final Four in San Antonio, and I ran into William Avery yesterday. He's one of the assistants at Duke, and had a brief conversation with him. I didn't want to hold him up. I know they're preparing to try to win a national championship. And yes, to answer your question, we went 33-1 and won a state championship.
Yeah. And Ricky, I'm sure at that time, because you're still a young kid, you're going to be going to the University of Connecticut. You're going to a big time school that is trying to win a national title. But being a kid in high school and seeing how hard it is to win a state title in high school, that had to be a tremendous feeling for you, as well as the teammates you played with, because it's not easy to win any type of tournament. And when you win a state title for the school that you go to, that's got to be very rewarding.
Yes, it was rewarding to me because when my freshman year we went 4-22. So to change the culture of the program, and they've since Coach Hunter took over. He's won. He didn't win this year, but he won 3 state championships in a row. To help be a part of that legacy, even at my high school, was tremendous. But again, we were 4-22 my freshman year, and then gradually my junior year we ended up going to the Final Four. We lost in the Final Four, and then my senior year we went 33-1 and won a state championship. So just the hard work and dedication, and knowing that, getting up at 5:30 every morning, putting work in, and challenging, as a captain, having to challenge every player each and every day, it was super rewarding to see how it played out.
Right. Ricky, you mentioned that you thought about going to Arkansas, and I love Nolan Richardson. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches of all time. And I was so happy to see him win in '94 because he had been knocking on the door. That team had been knocking on the door. Um, Ultimately, did you get to have a meeting with him at all, or was it more like his assistants or the scouts? Who did you talk to during that?
No, he actually came into my living room for a home visit. So I had planned on taking, I had been to Georgia Tech a few times on unofficials. I had planned to go to UConn on official, and then right after the following weekend, go to Arkansas on official visit. So I know Wayne Turner was on a visit at the University of Kentucky, and he was supposed to visit Connecticut the following weekend, but or he had visited already, and then he went to Kentucky. But when I got to UConn, I spent some time, with the team. I had some conversations, of course, with the coaching staff, and I just felt that it was right. In my heart, I just felt that was the right decision for me. I knew it was going to be tough being away from home. Um, coming from a small town in Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, I knew it was going to be tough, but it just felt right. It felt right, and so that's why I decided to go to UConn.
Right. And Ricky, a guy that we were very happy about in our state of Connecticut that was going to be attending UConn was, of course, Rashmel Jones, who is one of your best friends. He was your fellow co-captain your senior year. And I'll tell you what, Ricky, you could just tell that freshman class, there was something special about them because they weren't just teammates, they were friends. Talk about your friendship with Rashmel.
Well, Rashmel, he's one of the biggest reasons that I was able to survive at UConn. He was a brother to me. We spent a lot of time, especially my senior year, every day after practice. It wasn't, I'm gonna tell you, it really wasn't a day that we didn't talk after practice, and basically tried to keep everything on track and make sure if there was any issues or that, we tried to handle it before it got to Coach Calhoun. So, Ross will always be my brother. I mean, he's just a special individual, and he had to deal with some adversity too. But he sacrificed for the team. He's all about winning, and I just wanted to make sure that I was a part of that, and just a very, very special friend and brother to me.
Right. Ricky, you come in your freshman year at UConn, and a guy that I loved at UConn, who was a point guard at UConn for 4 years and so underrated. And I was so happy when he won a national title as a head coach, of course, is Kevin Ollie. And you come in, and in a lot of ways, you have to replace him. But I mean, just talk about the impact that Kevin had on UConn, because in a lot of ways, Ray Allen, guys like Eric Hayward, Scott Burrell, guys like that, they really set the foundation for how the University of Connecticut would be over time. I mean, it really started in 1990 with Chris Smith, Nadav Hennefeld, Rod Sellers. But I mean, Kevin, to me, is one of the most underrated UConn players in the history of that university. So talk about Kevin a little bit.
Well, I'm gonna take it back a little further. You mentioned his name, Chris Smith. So it started back with Chris Smith, the Dove, and those guys, and then that led into Kevin. Danielle Marshall, Kevin Ollie, of course Ray Allen, and so on. But Kevin was an integral part of the success at UConn. As a point guard, leading those guys. I think his senior year, I want to say they lost to UCLA, and if not losing to UCLA, they probably would have won a national championship. So it's all about matchups. He did a tremendous job as a player, and then he came in as a coach and won a national championship in the short period of time that he was there. And in this business, a lot of people have to understand right now you don't have a whole lot of time to not be successful. You have 1 or 2 bad years, and then a lot of athletic directors are ready to get rid of you. So it's a different atmosphere of college basketball right now. And then a lot of times too, you have to have, the resources that go with that. And so, when Kevin was there, we were in the American Conference. We weren't in the Big East. And of course, there wasn't any NIL or collective. So you have to take a look at all those things. I look at it from afar. I'm back in college basketball, spent 5 years out and shouldn't have. But it's just a total different game. But the impact Kevin Ollie had on UConn basketball, he's one of the greatest players to come through and won a national championship. Not many guys can say they did that.
Right. And Ricky, freshman year, you mentioned him a couple seconds ago, Ray Allen. And what was really important in your freshman year is the UConn men, they had won that Big East title in 1990, won the tournament, but they hadn't won another Big East title or tournament since that 90 team. So I know how important it was for that 96 team. And boy, what a Big East tournament it was, especially that final game against Georgetown. Just talk about that freshman year, getting to play with somebody of Ray's caliber. I'm sure you learned a lot from him, but that team winning the Big East that year, because I know that was very important for the team and Coach Calhoun, because they needed to validate that they could go back and win another Big East title.
Yeah, we had a really great group in '96. You had Ray, of course, Deron Sheffer, Travis Knight, Kurt King, of course, Roshmel Jones. So we had some guys that could really play. Unfortunately, I injured my shoulder that year because I think we could have made a deep run at the Final Four. So, I just felt so bad that I injured my shoulder and wasn't able to help the team out that year. But, we had just beat Georgetown for the Big East Championship, of course, with Allen Iverson and the few other guys they had that went to the NBA. So, but we had a really, really good team. We had a really good team. We had a great year. Winning the Big East Championship was special. I think nobody really thought that we would be able to do that except for the guys in the locker room and the UConn fans. So it was very satisfying to win that Big East Championship of the year.
Yeah, and again, it was a game that night where Ray struggled a lot, but boy, he hits the big shot at the end. I think you guys won 47-46 or maybe 48-47, but it was just, as a fan watching it, so special, because that was a special group. And that team made the Sweet 16, but that team all year gave UConn fans so much joy, so many great moments. So it had to be special for you to be a part of a team like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And even, through the course of my time at UConn, winning championship, I would say someone different always stepped up. That's a great thing about having great teammates and having an opportunity not for just one guy to be the guy. I think Ray, like you say, Ray struggled that game. Kurt King stepped up. I stepped up. I actually came up with a big stop down the stretch against Allen Iverson, who's everybody knows is one of the best players to ever lace him up. So again, that's that competitive nature and having an opportunity to be out on the court. I think it started in practice, being able to go against Ray and Deron and those guys. And so when you play against Hall of Famers on other teams, it's not so tough because you're facing that every day in practice.
Right. And Ricky, obviously your defense stands out so much, and we're going to get to that soon. But your first year at UConn, as time was going on, what did Coach Calhoun, everybody has a role, what did he want your role to be on this team more than anything else? Obviously, you're the point guard, but I mean, what did he stress to you individually as a player that he wanted out of you?
Well, it changed every year. I mean, depending on who came in. And like my freshman year, my job was to come in and bring a ton of energy. Um, After, I would say, halfway after the year, I got more opportunities on the offensive side of the basketball. So I was able to score a little bit more my freshman year. So then my sophomore year, uh, I was just coming back from injury. I was more of a facilitator then my sophomore year. You know, every once in a while I would have some games where I scored, but it was more so giving Rib, Jay, Kevin Freeman, Kirk King, trying to get them opportunity. Then my junior year, it was again facilitating for Khalid and Rip, um, and playing defense. And so basically stopping the best player on the opposing team. And then again, my senior year, that kind of stayed the same because we had a really successful year in 97, 98. So heading into 98, 99, our championship year, that kind of was the same message that he was giving me. So of course, people always say, man, that saw me in high school, they were like, you should have changed school, you should have went somewhere else, and we know you can score and this and that. But the main thing for me was about winning and leaving a legacy, and that's what I wanted to do, is basically be a part of the first national championship, be a part of the first state championship, be a part of and even when I played in Europe and Austria, being a part of the first basketball championship they had on. So that was my goal. Like always try to be the first to ever do something at that school. And I've had a lot of success doing that. And I put in a lot of work as well.
Right, which is so important. It doesn't happen by accident, obviously. Sophomore year, Ricky, you guys don't make the tournament, you make the NIT. And I know that was disappointing, but I'm sure it made you and your teammates hungrier for your junior season to come back and, get UConn back to the tournament. So just talk about sophomore year. I mean, I know it was disappointing, but I would think that you guys took it as a positive that we're going to bounce back next year.
Well, I look at it. It really wasn't. It wasn't. I wouldn't say disappointing because if you look at the climate that we're in now, Kurt King was suspended for accepting a plane ticket from an agent, so he was suspended the rest of his senior season. So he had to miss at least 15 games, whatever it is. I was out for 5 games that year, so I look at it as it gave Rip, Jake, and Kevin Freeman an opportunity to grow. And without me playing those 5 games and Kirk playing the rest of the season, and I always look back and um, I was able to win 114 games, and like 16, 17 of those games was without the best player, Kirk King, because he was suspended. So if I would have had him, and I wouldn't have been out 5 games, then I don't know how many games I could have won. I know I lost 14, but I could have ended up winning 130, 125 at least. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say it was disappointing. I just say that it was a lot that I think the guys had to show some maturity, grow up a lot faster, and then it actually helped us win the national championship 2 years later.
Right, definitely. Now, let me ask you, Ricky. Obviously, when you're playing with great players, you feel like they could do bigger and better things. But did you have a good idea early on that Rip Hamilton would be the type of NBA player he was? Because he was phenomenal in the NBA as well, and he also won a championship in the NBA with Detroit. So, I mean, talk about when you first saw Rip those first few games. Did you have an inkling that he was a special player?
Well, I knew once I had an opportunity to play with Ray, I knew Rip would have an opportunity to play in the NBA as well. And then with his work ethic, I knew that he'd be, in the Hall of Fame someday. So I'm just honored to have played with both Rip and Ray. And people always ask me to compare the two, and I always tell them, I can't compare the two. You know what I mean? Those two guys were Hall of Famers, and they brought something a little different. When Ray was in college, he was more of a guy that would get to the basket and dunk on you. And then, once he got to the NBA, he was known as a 3-point shooter. And Rip has always been known for a guy to he's moving off the ball and coming off screens, catch and shoot. So those were two different type of basketball players, but winning basketball players.
Right. So junior year, Ricky, big season for that team. And I always felt sorry for that team because that was one of the best UConn teams ever. I really felt it was. You win the Big East again, you win the Big East tournament, and then you guys get to the Elite Eight with the buzzard shot against Ohio State. And I really felt like this team was going to go all the way. Unfortunately, I just think North Carolina, they had such a great team that year that you just fell a little short. But talk about that 97, 98 team, because to me, that was one of the best UConn teams in the history of UConn.
You mean the buzzer shot against Washington?
Or Washington, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yes,
Washington.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
Washington. Yeah, that team was incredible. To be honest with you, I thought we lost that game against Washington.
yeah.
They played really well. They had Donald Watts, Todd McCullough, the big guy. They had some very good role players on that team. But every game that we played in was always like somebody's Super Bowl because they were looking to kick our butt. So um, that team was special. I mean, we ran into a tough North Carolina team in Greensboro, and Vince Carter, Shammond Williams, Antoine Jameson. I mean, basically, it was a home game for him. So it was tough to get out of there with a win, and that kind of uh, set us up that summer when we headed out to Europe to play some games, and we knew then that we were on a mission to win a championship. I mean, we knew we had to, everybody coming back, and we had the right tools in place. So, fortunately, everything worked out because you got to have a little luck in it. And again, in '99, nobody expected us to beat Duke because they had 4 lottery picks. So, but we had our minds set on we wanted to work as hard as we could each and every day, and we knew we had an opportunity to win a championship, and we did that.
Right. And Ricky, it had to make you feel good that Coach Calhoun trusted you not only as a player but as a leader, because as I mentioned in the opening, you were captain, I believe, 3 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken, and that doesn't always happen. So the fact that he made you a captain so early in your career, he saw that leadership in you, which is so important because you have to have good captains. You can't just have captains with the label. They have to be good captains. So had to make you feel good that Coach Calhoun trusted you and knew that you had great leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Coach really, he saw my work ethic. He saw the way that I competed each and every day, and he saw that I wasn't a selfish player. He knew that I was all about winning. I hosted a lot of recruits, tried to get those guys to come in and understand that, this is an elite program, and with the talent that we had on the team and the guys that we were recruiting, we knew we could be successful. But yeah, I think it was more so that he respected, what I brought each and every day as far as my work ethic and the person that I was.
Right. So senior year, Ricky, it's obvious that the goal is to win a national title. But the one thing too that UConn had a little trouble doing, and I don't even want to say trouble because sometimes they just went up against real good teams, but was getting to that Final Four. And that game against Gonzaga, even though Gonzaga made it, close, made it interesting, it was back and forth, nail biter. Getting that win, I think it made, I don't want to say that the team felt overly confident, but they felt confident that they knew how to grind out wins. And I think that Gonzaga game was proof of that because even though you guys bent a little bit, you never broke.
Yeah, I would say, and people may think I'm crazy. I would say that probably was the toughest game all year to me. It felt like playing them in Phoenix. They had a lot of fans at the game. They had a really, really good team. And so that was actually probably tougher than the Duke game. I know even though we only won by 3 points, but that game just was, it just felt like every time we would make a run, they would make a run, and they would go up, then we would make a run. And then I want to say Khalid was in foul trouble that game. So
Yeah.
um, it, we had to find a way to win, and we had enough guys to step up and secure that victory. But we had a special team. We had a really really special team, and everybody brought something different to the team, and that's what made it so tough to beat us.
Right. So, Ricky, throughout that tournament, the announcers were praising your defense, and your defense was tremendous. And really, that's why UConn won this championship, in my opinion, is the great defense they played throughout the tournament. And we'll talk about the Duke game in a second. But how important did Coach Calhoun stress to you guys defense? Because it's one thing to be a great offensive team, but you have to be a great defensive team as well. And that UConn team, their defense, you could put it up against anybody's that year.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, that's what we held our hat on every day. Every day we wore a hard hat to come to work, defensively. And that's what we knew. Like, it's going to be times that we don't make shots, but we got to get stops. And it's interesting that somebody asked Rip if it was one guy that couldn't be off of this team, who would it be? And he mentioned me because I was known as a defensive stopper. So I was the guy that you would put on the best player from the other team that would slow that guy down. Of course, you're going to have games where guys go off. You can't stop guys. But I would say 90% of the time, the guy that I was guarding didn't get his average. And so if that happens, your chances to win the basketball game becomes much higher. So, I really respect him for saying that, and it's not a lot of glory with doing that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get the interviews, you don't get this and that, but at the end of the day, I want to win championships, and I was able to do that. Uh, focusing on being a star in my role, and my role was to take away the best player on the opposite team.
Yeah, and Ricky, I mentioned that the Gonzaga game scared me, but even though you guys beat Ohio State only by 6, I never felt like you guys were going to lose that game. I just felt confident the whole game. I mean, it just seemed like you guys, every time they would try to, get the lead, you guys would hit a three, you do something. I mean, you mentioned it before, you didn't want to say that the Duke game was easier, but did you guys feel that there was no way you were losing that game against Ohio State?
Well, Ohio State had Scooney Penn, Michael Redd, and the big guy Johnson, I think, the three-headed monster. So we knew, like, we had been in those games like that so much that we knew eventually we would know how to pull out a win. You know what I mean? So, like, we were always in some tough, close games. Like, again, every game that we were in, pretty much, that was everybody's Super Bowl. To beat us was really, it would make people's year. And of course, in the tournament, but we didn't never wavered and got nervous or got out of sorts. When you have two elite scorers like Khalid El-Amin and Richard Hamilton, and then you have guys like Jake Bosco, Kevin Freeman, myself, Albert Morin, who could shoot, Rochmel Jones, a dog. We weren't really worried at all. You know what I mean? So we just felt like anybody that made a run, we were gonna make our run, and then down the stretch, we were gonna get stops.
So take us back, Ricky, to the night before. So let's do it 24 hours before. So it's about 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening. Are you having trouble sleeping that night? I mean, you got to be anxious because you're playing in the title game. I mean, how difficult was that night for you? Because I'm sure you just wanted that game to get going right away.
It wasn't. I slept great, actually. I mean, I really I did. I knew that we were going to have a tough game against Duke. To be honest with you, I was more excited about playing against my teammate because where we come from, to have an opportunity to compete for a national championship, and you're playing against a guy that you knew that you helped bring up the ranks. Like, he was younger than me, showing him the ropes in high school, watching him go off to Oak Hill, be successful, watching him go to Duke, be successful, and then I saw him, get drafted in the lottery with Minnesota. So, like, for me, I just, I'm a competitor, and um, I've always been that way. And it doesn't matter who I'm playing. I wasn't one of those guys. I had an opportunity in high school, and Vonteego Cummings, who went to Pittsburgh, I think he's top 5 all-time leading scorer. He ended up getting drafted by the Golden State Warriors in the lottery as well. So Will and Vonteego both got drafted that year lottery. And so Montego was a competitor of mine in high school, and we would go at each other. And we had an opportunity to probably go play college ball together, but we both decided that we're so competitive. We always want to, keep it in the game. Nowadays you got guys that want to team up with each other, and it's a little different today. But like we had a different mindset back in the day where, man, I want to compete. I want to be the best competitor possible, and that's just that was my mindset. So yeah, going into that game, I slept well. I knew I was going to have a great opportunity to compete against really good players, and once those lights came on, I was ready.
Now, Ricky, Duke was heavily favored. And here's the other thing, too, Ricky. I always believe this now. I'm a big Yankees fan. I had to watch them collapse against the Red Sox in '04. But I kind of compare it a little bit with Duke and UConn because Duke had been a nemesis for UConn. They beat them in the '90 tournament game that took Duke to the Final Four when Leitner hit the buzzer shot. Then the following year, there was the whole thing with Leitner and Rod Sellers, and Duke beat them by about 15. So UConn was knocking on the door. But I really felt when you win a championship like this and you get over the hump, you have to beat the team that gave you so many problems over the years. And that's kind of how it was for you guys against Duke. And the interesting thing, though, Ricky, we talk about defense. Really, it was a great game plan by the coaching staff because you guys kept Elton Brand out of that game, like dominating. I mean, he had been dominating all year, and you guys did a great job of keeping the ball away from him. That was really, in my opinion, what really won that game was they had good 3-point shooters, no question about it, and they kept them in the game. But you guys were, he got his points, but you guys didn't let him dominate the game.
Well, we came into that game, we knew that we were going to have to double Elton Brand. And so anytime that he touched the ball in the post, we doubled. And we figured that, we're going to have to make someone else beat us. And again, they made shots. He was able to get his points as well. I had an explosive first half, I think 13 points in the first half.
Maybe 15, yeah.
Or something like that. And so we just knew that if we can kind of slow him down and not let him dominate the game, we would be in really, really good shape, down the stretch. And then, down the stretch, we were in the game, and it came down to, I tell people this story all the time. I heard Coach K tell Trajan Langdon he was out, on the side of their bench, and he told him to go get the ball. And so my eyes lit up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have, I'm going to allow him to go get the ball. And then once he gets the ball, then I'm going to play defense. This is what I do. This is what I'm accustomed to. I don't care who it is at the end of the game. When I was in college, if you can beat me one-on-one, then so be it. But, hearing, Coach K tell him to go get the ball, one of their best offensive players, I was, ready for that. So, he ended up getting the ball, and he traveled, and I played good defense. And so we ended up winning the game. I think Khalid went to the free throw line. They had to foul. Khalid went to the free throw line and made 2 free throws. So that'll be something that I never forget. And actually, my son plays right now, and he's doing a very good job. He's working his tail off. He's about 6'6", 6'7" now. And so, I just try to tell him the same thing. Hey, this is the path. If you go down this path, there's a lot of success down this path, but you got to listen. And he's been doing a great job of listening. And I just, now as far as defense goes, he still has some work to do on that end, but offensively, a much better player than me.
So tell me this, Ricky. What was the feeling like when that buzzard sounded and you knew you guys won? I mean, you guys went crazy, obviously, but when you got to like, really take it all in and all that adrenaline had calmed down and stuff, what was the feeling like? Because here you are, not only a national champion, but you're part of the first group that got UConn a national title, and that has to be special. And I told you off air earlier that anytime I watch it, I still get those goosebumps when I hear Jim Nance say uh, Langdon trips and UConn has won it. I mean, it's one of the best calls ever, and seeing that was just so special. But just talk about what that meant to you and your teammates.
I think with nobody really believing except for the guys in that locker room, a great picture, by the way, right there. Um, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, because all the hard work that we put in, all the tough practices and running Cemetery Hill and, getting up early in the morning, the sacrifices that you have to make in order to win championships. It all came together, like I said, at the end when Trajan tripped and he's looking to get up a 3-point shot and that buzzer goes off. That's all you're thinking about is how rewarding it's been through that journey over the 4 years that you've been there. So again, I'm just privileged and honored to have been a part of such a special group of teammates, coaching staff, Coach Calhoun, of course. Um, you know, everything that is all wrapped up in that moment when that horn goes off of all that the journey that you've been on those 4 years.
And think about this, Ricky. Your career record at UConn, you were 90 games over 500. You were 114 and 24 in your career, which is just unbelievable. And you talk about the injuries your sophomore year. If those guys don't get hurt, you never know. You might have a close to 100 winning percentage in your career, which is just unbelievable. But really, UConn was no longer this team knocking on the door. It was no longer this team that is trying to advance in the tournament. They had that set the stage for them quickly becoming a blue blood in college basketball. And it started with that 99 team. And I mean, for you, you just have to be so proud that you were a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I can say it till I'm blue in the face. Just being a part of that championship team. Just to be a part of the first national championship team, that makes it so special to me because I've always wanted to do things like that in my journey with basketball. Again, in high school, college, when I played in Europe, just being the first guy to do that, it means so much to me. And then coming back, a lot of people don't talk about this. How many guys can say that they've won a national championship as a player and a coach, and also to do it at the same school, the same program? So, like, I'm just truly blessed, to be honest with you. I mean, I look back at it, I've been really, really blessed to have had the success I've had in the past.
So let me ask you this, Ricky. Obviously, the men's team had another run. They won back to back, first time in school history. But since that first championship, UConn has been able to win 5 more, and now they have 6. And they're one of the college teams that has the most championships. I think they're third or fourth. How does that feel for you to see that success? Because it's the college you played at, it's the program that you love, and to see that have so much success, that also has to just make you feel very. You have to be very prideful of that.
Yeah, I'm definitely prideful, and I hear a lot from my colleagues, a ton about being a part of UConn history and the program and where it's going. And so for me, yeah, I'm ecstatic and I'll always be proud. And again, when I played, it's always been the fan base has always been incredible. The support that we've gotten over the years and the brotherhood that we have and the guys that again that came before me to set the foundation. Um, it's been tremendous. It's been tremendous. You know, it'll always have a special place in my heart for sure. You know, UConn basketball, and you know, when people talk about it, you get goosebumps, and so and I think again, like I said, I think Hurley will continue to do a good job, him and his staff, of competing at a high level and always having an opportunity to win a championship.
Most definitely. And Ricky, think about this too. Your love for basketball has always been there. And I believe you played in maybe 5 or 6 different countries over your professional career, which is just awesome. I mean, you've traveled all around the world, you've gotten to see every part of the world, which is great. But it's the love of basketball that you just loved, that you didn't care where you played, you were just going to play basketball anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I played starting with, you know, when I left UConn, the CBA, the NBDL, which is the G League now. I played in Austria, Sweden, Turkey, Germany, Ukraine. Played USBL in Melbourne, Florida. Just having the opportunity to play basketball, you know, for a living, and you know, meeting so many different teammates and having friends from all over the world, and having a chance to experience different cultures. And again, that's a blessing for me. If you would have told me that when I was in high school, that I would, you know, have had a chance to do all of this, I would, you know, probably be living a fairy tale. So, um, and then now being in coaching, you know, having a chance to be in, you know, a lot of these kids' lives. And the thing is now is just a little bit different with the transfer portal and guys coming in and going out, but just having an opportunity to meet different kids, and just trying to give them advice about life, you know, not just basketball, but about life. It's been tremendous.
And Ricky, it's Final Four weekend, of course, and this is the tournament to me. I mean, it gets us through March because there's nothing really going on in March, and the tournament, especially the first 2 rounds, they're so exciting. But then the Final Four comes, and it gets even more exciting. Just talk about being around the Final Four. I mean, you know what it was like to play in it. How special is it for you to be able to watch it? Like, how special is this weekend for you?
I would say it's much more relaxing when you're just
Yeah.
here watching the Final Four. But of course, when you're coaching in it, or you've played in it, it's a lot more stressful. Not a lot of time. Seems like it goes by so fast because you're in the gym practicing, scouting, trying to get ready for the game, the preparation that you need to get ready for the game. Not much sleep, up all night. If you're a coach trying to prepare, but um, you know, just a lot more relaxing now. You know, and soon as the Final Four is over, now you got to get back into the transfer portal. But and even still, while we're here, getting, you know, looking at some different kids and things of that nature. But again, it's a lot more relaxing that I'm not a part of it, and just being a fan and being able to watch great basketball. I often hear, you know, people always ask me, who you're rooting for. Well, I'm rooting for a competitive game, because that's who I am as a person. I'm super competitive, so I just want there to be good games and to watch good basketball.
Right. So, Ricky, let me ask you this. This is a question I know people have asked you over the last several years, and feel free not to answer it if you don't want to. But the talk has always been, how come Ricky hasn't been back at UConn? I think maybe 18 or 19 was the last time you were there. Did you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I'll address it. I haven't been invited back. I mean, I got invited back for the ceremony for the national championship, and I wasn't able to come. I had something to do. But other than that, I haven't. Nobody's reached out to me to come back. I wanted to go to the games this year in Raleigh, because it was so close to where I'm at. Located in Charlotte, but I actually had to work out at a JUCO event out in Hutchinson, Kansas, so I wasn't able to make it. And then another time I wanted to go see the girls, but my son plays um, AU ball and he's training, so I wasn't able to make it to the girls game. So I actually got my boss that I'm working for now, I got him and his wife some tickets, and I think I owe the school some money to pay for those tickets back because I think Kyle Krafchick just texted me the other day about paying for those tickets. So I will love to come back. It's just a matter of, I haven't heard. I've never really. I mean, other than seeing guys on the road, I haven't heard from anybody. So, so I want to address that. And people often think that, you don't come back because this or that, but I haven't been invited back. So, and that's fine. This is life, and you know, it, from what I've heard, people say this is the start of UConn basketball. But again, like I said, the start of UConn basketball is when Coach Calhoun got there and started building a program, and then he built something that became very special. And so, no matter what people say, that foundation was laid in the '90s, and everybody after that has contributed to a basketball program that is at the top of the mountain right now.
Right. And I would think this, though, Ricky, it's always important to have alumni back. And Coach Calhoun, when you guys won the title in '99, he made it a point to thank people like Danielle Marshall, Chris Smith, Rod Sellers, Scott Burrell, because he knew that how important it was that it all started when that team in 1990 got UConn to another level. So he always understood the importance of former UConn players. So I think that hopefully the university understands that it's important to have the alumni back. I mean, you don't ever want to forget the greats that wore that UConn Husky jersey.
Well, the thing is, you can never forget. So
Yeah.
I actually, this morning, a close friend of mine sent me something that our '99 team was one of the top, was, I guess, voted by Bleacher Report as one of the top teams ever in college basketball. So hearing things like that, that's just, I mean, tremendous. It's truly a blessing. And to be a part of a team that, those guys feel that was one of the top 10 teams ever. I mean, words can't explain it.
Right. So Ricky, before we go, what would you say was the most rewarding thing about your career at UConn? I mean, obviously the championship, but just the 4 years you were there, if you take one thing out of it, what was most rewarding to you?
I would have to take two: winning a national championship as a player and winning a national championship as an assistant coach. Those two things are a very rare thing to do. And I would say, going through those things and learning as I went through winning those championships, that those things will never um, ever be gone. I mean, those memories will always be there with me. And again, like I said, that's something that is a very rare thing to do. And it would be interesting for somebody to go do the research and see how many guys have done that.
Yeah, it definitely would. I don't know. I mean, not many, and that's a tremendous accomplishment. Well, Ricky, I want to thank you for giving me some time today. I want to also thank you for the memories you gave me as a fan, as a UConn player. That '99 championship team will always be my favorite team. I mean, it was the first, and what you guys did, what you did for Connecticut as well. I mean, our state felt like we were on top of the world for, a good year, and that was awesome. And I really applaud you for everything you do, not only in your career, but also in your everyday life. You set a great example to kids and adults, and I really congratulate you and thank you for giving me some time today.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I appreciate you having me. If it's any other time you ever need me to come on, we'll be more than happy to.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And there you have it, folks. I mean, watching this young man play, it was so much fun. The defense he played was tremendous. Unbelievable point guard, wonderful teammate. And I've never said this because I wasn't going to say it until I finally had him on the show. But now I could proudly say it that my all time favorite UConn Husky is number 21, Mr. Ricky Moore. For Hometown Heroes, I'm Mike Kenichi saying good night, everyone.